Okay, so today our group will take you through the topic of how to foster innovation in technology transfer collaboration, focusing mainly on these three tasks. So giving you some insights on the IMEC case and introducing you to the concept of industrial affiliates programs. So this, Michael.
Yeah, let me shortly start with describing what the IAP, so an industrial affiliate program is. It's with it's a joint research activity program within the nanoelectronic industry. And the reason why they started this is that research and development within nanoelectronic industry is quite cost intensive. It's risky, not only in terms of cost, but also in a timely manner. And so there was the idea to for different partners, for different partners in the value chain of the nanoelectronic industry to work together and them sharing all the information, the IP, the know-how they have to make research and development more efficient and more and in the end to reduce the risk and to be beneficial for all the partners of such an IAP. For example, and please go to the next slide. One example of such an IAP is the 3D system integration. It started with the idea that this kind of 3D system integration could be really beneficial for all partners along the value chain. And so they decided, and at that point of this study, 34 different partners from all over the value chain. The semiconductors industry partners, so the end users, the research institutes, but also the supply and technology providers, they work together on one topic. In this case, the integrated 3D industry. They use their IP, they use their knowledge to reduce the risk and to make the research and development more efficiently. In the end, to improve their outcome. And that's because and one important partner in this IAP is the so-called IMEC. And so beside the industrial partners along the value chain, there's the so-called IMEC. So please go on the next slide. And this is the IMEC is a public research institution, and the role of the IMEC is not only to orchestrate the work inside such an IAP, but it's also managing the IP, the IP portfolio, the IP strategy inside the IAP. So they are responsible for doing the bilateral agreements, for example, between different partners inside an IAP, so that each partner really gets a positive outcome out of the collaborative work inside the IAP. Next slide.
Yes. So as we were discussing, the case that we are bringing to you today is related to the fact that in the last decades, we have those big research collaboration projects. And once we have this in place, we have also the complexity in how we will manage the results, how we manage the exercise and costs and so on. So I'm here to talk to you about how IMEC utilizes this value chain monopoly in IP strategy, and how the orchestration of the 3D systems integration within AIP takes place. So as I was mentioning to you, we have these relevant projects. We have as Michael was also saying, we have cases in which the IAP gathers more than 30 entities. And what is the role of IMEC in this value chain monopoly? So IMEC provides 5 key elements to support the business of the economic players within the electronic and non-electronics segment. And I will basically describe to you these 5 key elements. So first, we see a repository of knowledge and information that projects the trends, the future trends, and of course, the needed capabilities that are projected as a tech forecast, assessment, and development. The second key support from IMEC is that IMEC creates and offers us access to this knowledge and this repository. And by doing that, IMEC is contributing to the reducement of innovation costs of those players that are gathering in around this projects. And he also contributes to the creation of a network between those entities. The third key element is through constant interaction and innovation that is proposed by and led by IMEC. The IAP increases the functionality and the importance of this cooperation, not only among the partners, but also to any market that is linked to the usage of nanoelectronics. And the fourth key element, we have the arrangements that IMEC puts in place. And through these arrangements, IMEC guarantees that he's not a person. So the institute will perceive a sort of input from its partners, and that will allow the continuance of the further development, support the guidance through the IMEC platform, but also to strengthen the utility and and it's also generating value not only for the group itself, but also for the part that IMEC is playing among them. And the fifth key element is the arrangements of this sort of agreements that are put in place. They also generate knowledge and potential for new assets development, whether it's in AIP or outside AIP, and we will dig into this in the next slides. So in any case, the importance that IMEC plays, it's getting critical along of the chain that we are seeing here. Next slide. And so how we, this is it's a schematic projection about this. So how this is happening here. So we do see, as I was mentioning, we do see this collection of data. So the first layer from the left to the right, please. So we have this collection of data that you create this trend forecast. And of course, is dividing here not only the tech landscape, but also what should be provided as an enabler for future technologies, or to meet the needs from the market. And by doing this, IMEC generates the IP background, and he, of course, seeks the protection of the research results. Then we have this first result that is also the subject of our case here, this 3G chip. And you can see by this column that IMEC is not only providing general raw information, he is categorizing the information in 3 different lines. And we have also a time frame to which this lines of data that they are providing is dedicated to. So we have 8 years before market, 5 years before market, and 3 years before market. And they are also dividing according to the play that IMEC will do, and also according to the results, the property of the results. So we have different ways of relevant data that is being provided by IMEC. I will not go through all these small letters. I don't think that is needed, because Daria will really dig into this. And then we have by providing these waves of relevant data, we have different arrangements between the partners that are made, and it's also categorized according to the the research, so basic research, applied research, or development of research. And we also see along of the chain, so out of the column and going to the right, we have different layers of protection of research results that will differentiate from no exclusive ownership, and in some cases exclusive ownership. In some cases we have IMEC not owning any of the results, but we have a lock-in effect, because all those layers, meaning from the basic to the development of research, we have license agreements that will generate royalty fees to IMEC. That's it. Thank you.
Great. So after the comprehensive introduction to the IMEC operation and the IP licensing design, we were invited by the case to focus on one particular partner in the multiverse, it was told before, of the partners taking part in the big 3D IIP, and then design the cases in which this partner could enjoy the exclusivity of the generated IP. For this purpose, we choose Sony, a logic integrated device manufacturer, focus here on the left. It spans its production from the consumer electronics to producing sensing solutions. And in this realm, it's the end user of the produced 3D technology. Sony aims to elevate its performance, lower power consumption, and quality of the resolution based on the technology developed within the IIP. Of course, this technology should be later developed to match the existing proprietary technologies and the products that Sony has. Sony wants to apply this technology in the whole span of its devices, cameras, smartphones, gaming devices as well. All this to achieve the competitive advantage over the existing sensors. Next slide, please. To illustrate all the possible constellations with the IP coming up or was bringing into the cooperation, we use the plot that you see here on the left, where you can see the sources of the IP, being the Sony, the IIP, what means the consortia, IMEC as well, plus here stays for the other partners and bring the IP into the consortia. There are also the shaded blocks that stand for the vocabulary, so for the different types of the IP that need special regulations over the time, and also stratified by the start of the collaboration, so rather happening before being established, the IP before collaboration, within, or afterwards. So we start with the background IP, the proprietary IP of Sony or IMEC or any other participant of the IIP for that case that is brought in to facilitate the development of the new 3D technology. That at this point, contractual arrangements can be made to secure the proprietary of the IP for the developer. This means that before entering the collaboration, Sony should pay special attention on keeping its IP private, perhaps sharing part of it to facilitate the development and the progress, yet securing it from the competitors. Next. Right, here we move to the right on the timeline. And now Sony is in their big 3D IIP cooperation where the foreground IP is developed. At this point, cooperating partners on the different degree of the involvement are developing the new IP, based perhaps on the IP brought into the consortia. This IP could be fabrication processes for the 3D integration, material science developments, design methodologies, test and quality assurance techniques, software, and so forth. At this point, Sony should seek the exclusive rights for specific foreground IP, means developed within the corporation, that in its core use case scenario. In the case, we have been given the stratification of the licensing strategies of the IMEC that would correspond to the R1 star IP category, meaning that the participant might want to reserve the IP for himself. Rather, he is more invested into the development of this IP or he has a higher interest, but all this can be stated in the agreements. Next.
A very important lever to get exclusivity is generating sideground IP. So what does this mean? Sideground IP can be generated let's say, outside the original 3D IAP context. So this means in parallel to the core project, which is done in this 3D IAP consortium together with IMEC and all the other partners, there can be set up separate projects in parallel, bilateral projects or cooperations between IMEC and other partners. In our case, this would be projects between IMEC and Sony. And these projects work related to the IAP project, but have different objectives and have let's say, a clear delineation from the IAP project. And this is a really complex thing, because it's necessary to separate the objectives, to separate the processes, to let's say, clarify in terms of IP identification or IP management, what's now the scope, or what's the IP related to the project, which means foreground IP, as Daria mentioned, and which IP can be considered as sideground IP, which in the end belongs exclusively to Sony, because Sony is paying IMEC in this bilateral cooperation. So a very important thing in this case is to clarify clearly in the initial agreement between IMEC and Sony how this sideground IP, let's say, can be created, or how this separate parallel project can be handled. So in the end, there is a clear exclusive IP position at Sony related to the generated R&D results. And what type, or what can be the scope of such IP to make in the end, to give Sony an exclusive position? We mentioned some examples. Can be, we discussed about the 3D chip, which is the core outcome of this IAP project. And now it can be about integrating this 3D chip into a larger system. So IP can be directed, for example, to interconnection, to the interface between this specific chip and the larger system. It can be also directed to supporting technologies necessary to operate this chip in the system for a certain application, like you need a thermal management to keep the temperatures low, you need signal processing, you need stacking technologies, etc., etc. So all these things are not originally related to the 3D chip, but they refer to integrating this 3D chip into a larger system. And for this, it can be possible to get exclusive IP positions by Sony. And such IP can also be related to applications. As already mentioned, an application of this image sensor containing the chip can be gaming devices, can be smartphones, can be other types of sensors. And also IP can, let's say, include this application context to get, in the end, for example, patentability. Also, designs of the board and software can be part of this IP. And yeah, types of IP, there are different ones. For example, for sure, patents, trade secrets, copyright combinations are suitable to protect and get an exclusivity for in this sideground IP. Next slide, please. Another option is to use post-ground IP and to get an exclusive position. What does this mean, post-ground IP? This means that R&D activities done after the completion of the IAP project, not anymore with direct operative, let's say, connection to this consortium, but after closing of the project, R&D work done within Sony or together with other partners. This can be, let's say, called post-ground IP. And in the end, since this post-ground IP is still setting on, at least indirectly, on the work of the 3D IAP. It needs to be already considered in the initial agreement between Sony and the IMEC. So such an option has to be, let's say, very, very well clarified in this contract. So there are no issues later on regarding the let's say proprietary issues regarding this IP. It can be for sure also be that not Sony is, let's say, doing this generating this post-ground IP alone, but can be that there are still some cooperations with IMEC or with other partners, and such possible licensing issues and so on. Also, this has to be fixed in a contract in a clear way. Resulting IP for sure is again, as I presented in correlation to the SiteGround IP. But what gets also important in that case, since we are leaving now this ecosystem of IMEC 3D IAP and moving more or moving towards, let's say, the atmosphere of the Sony business, for sure, branding gets a very important, let's say, strategy to get to appropriate the result in the end, the results of this 3D IAP outcome within a product or technology of Sony. Thank you very much.